Sean.
Marco.
We are here to deliver a message from the RSA conference team.
It's an important message from our friends. RSA Conference 2025, just around the corner, where insights drive action, solutions emerge, and community connections spark innovation. You'll be there. I'll be there. We invite everybody else to be there April 28th through May 1st. You can secure your spot at rsaconference.com/ITSPMAG25. That's ITSPMAG25. See you all there.
I'll be there. See you there.
Marco.
Sean.
You ready to pull the lever?
Yeah. Can I push buttons too?
Three sevens. Lucky sevens coming your way. I think that's what many companies do when it comes to risk management. They just kind of see how it goes. Roll the dice. Exactly.
Yeah, there was a cartoon I remember a while back at the beginning of one of the Pixar movie where there is the alien that is learning how to pilot the spaceship and is just constantly touching and moving, and the spaceship moves really weirdly, and at least it couldn't hit anything because it's in space. I don't suggest that to anyone else.
No. There's a lot of risk taking. Some of it's good. I mean, being innovative and pushing things forward and looking over the edge and knowing how to manage that properly takes skill. And there are organizations that help. Well, regulations, we'll say first, and then standards and frameworks, and then companies like HITRUST that help organizations kind of get a view of what that looks like so that they can do that safely and successfully. And I'm thrilled to have Ryan Patrick on from HITRUST. How are you, Ryan?
I am living the dream. Thanks for having me, Sean and Marco.
It's good. Always good to see you, my friend. And I know you're heading to Vegas. It's HIMSS time, HIMSS Global Conference in Vegas, 3rd through 6th. You and the team are going to be there from the 4th through the 6th in the exhibition hall.
Yep.
Telling folks all about the good stuff that you and the
to
team.
To not push the lever.
Don't pull that lever, man. Unless you can afford to lose it. No, but
I am laser focused on cybersecurity and risk management for healthcare.
There we go. There we go. Yeah, we had a good chat with the HIMSS team, and it's always a good event where there is a lot of innovation, a lot of new technology, devices, software, platforms, information coming together. Obviously, AI is a big topic, which I presume we'll touch on a bit today as well. And so it's a great place for people to come together and explore what's coming. They're one of the few conferences that actually have a cybersecurity track built into the industry track, which is exciting for me. And I'm sure that's a big reason why just healthcare space, right? It's all about protecting patients and giving them better care. To do that, you have to do that securely. And that's why HITRUST is there to help bring that message together. Before we get into the real chat with me mumbling and stumbling here, a few words for those who haven't met you before, Ryan, who you are, what your role is at HITRUST.
Yeah, so my role is the Vice President of Adoption at HITRUST. So I like to tell folks that the simplest level, I'm an educator, and that's a bi-directional educator. So I talk to the market just about every single day, educating them on the things that HITRUST is doing and kind of where we're going in the future. But equally as important to me is I'm learning from the market, learning from folks in all industries about what's important to them from a cybersecurity and risk management perspective and an information protection perspective, and feeding that back into the folks with the really big brains that we keep locked in a room at HITRUST to roadmap that out and ultimately try to bring solutions to the problems and challenges that really any and all industries, but specifically healthcare, are faced with today. So I feel like my role is pivotal in making sure that the industry moves forward, but also HITRUST is doing the things that it needs to do to help folks.
Well, I think listening is definitely a major part of helping, right? You can just say, especially, again, maybe in the past there were times where you had it all figured out. This is the process. This is how it's done. There's a book that says it's the 1, number 2, number 3 steps. and you do it. With technology nowadays, it's just impossible. I mean, I feel like you have to find stuff before you even exist. So how does that process goes, and how do you think events like HIMSS are fundamental for this kind of conversations?
Well, I like to tell people that, if you think about IT folks, 30 years ago, 30 plus years ago, you had IT generalists. They did everything because the technology and the space wasn't as mature. Now everything is specialized. You have network folks, you have application folks, you have web folks, so on and so forth. And security has kind of followed that same track. Years ago, you could be, the beginning and the end from a cybersecurity perspective for an organization. And it's just not the case anymore. It's kind of married to the track that I just laid out from an IT perspective. So working with organizations and talking to organizations, and Marco, to your point, listening to organizations and folks within those organizations becomes really, really critical to understand what the trends are and where things are going. Because as you mentioned, technology is evolving really, really, really quickly. And I know we're going to get into AI, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. With the advent of Gen AI, it's only going faster. And events like HIMSS really becomes a center of gravity for those conversations and understanding what people are trying to do and where their heads are at and where they're trying to go, so that, from a HITRUST perspective, we learn about it, obviously, but then we can start to think about how do we support that and ultimately provide solutions to make it, quote unquote, secure.
So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that most organizations, at least attending HIMSS, are familiar with HITRUST and the HITRUST DSF in some fashion. Doesn't mean every organization has started that journey yet. A lot of them have. There's some good results, which we'll talk about from a report that you guys put out. But for the maybe the people within organizations that aren't familiar with HITRUST, that are there at HIMSS, they connect with you, and I believe Matthew and some of the others from the team are going to be there. What's that initial conversation look like? What should they be asking you or telling you so that you can ask the right question to help them?
Yeah, it always depends on the level of background and understanding. If they're brand new, they just need to understand the work that we're doing and the work that we've been doing for over 17 years in trying to translate what the federal government wants healthcare organizations to do, and then ultimately how we've evolved into providing solutions really that meet the market where they're at from a cybersecurity and risk management perspective. So asking questions about, hey, how does the framework work? How frequently are you updating the framework? Because if you write a framework 17 years ago, how applicable is it to today's environment? We just talked about how technology is evolving. The threat landscape is evolving just as fast, if not faster. So folks should be asking us about, how frequently are we updating the framework? And probably more importantly, how frequently are we updating the control sets within our assessments and ultimately certification? Because that's really what matters in building a mature cybersecurity and risk management program within any organization of any size, is understanding the relevance of the controls and how they actually are protecting against the threats that are happening today. And not every framework or standard out there can do that, right? Because they're 5 years old, they're 10 years old. HIPAA is nearly 30 years old. Is it really helping? So these are the types of questions and conversations that I think I would encourage people to really needle the folks at the HITRUST booth about, is ask why we're different, how we're actually constantly evolving to meet threat landscape and meet technology where they're at, and in the future evolve to make sure that we're going to be able to do that when that time comes down the road.
I'm going to take that future, because Sean knows I love the future and the past. But and make a point when you cover event, and Sean and I do this quite a bit, any event, honestly, you kind of look into the future, especially if you're looking at CES for technology and HIMSS. It is pretty much the CES, where the entire ecosystem of healthcare and technology is there. So in a way, when you go to these places, you do look into the future. And I know that that's part of your job as well. So it's not just to listen, but actually to kind of look at trends and do research. And I know that you're presenting a report during the event. So we don't want to give much away, but high level, what people should listen and look for from you guys.
Yeah, so we actually just released our 2025 Trust Report, and last year was the first year that we had ever put it out, and it really came out of us listening to the market. People were asking us, hey, HITRUST, you've got this wealth of information about what's happening in healthcare from a cybersecurity and risk management perspective. Can you share some of the data points that you're seeing and why you're different? So we started that last year, and some of the notable statistics that came out of it is we found in 2022 and 2023, less than 1% of HITRUST certified environments had suffered some kind of breach and or incident, which is really, really compelling stuff when you consider, and the statistics are all over the place, but I like to point to, roughly 45% of organizations in the last year have suffered some kind of breach or an incident. Like, that is less than 1% is dramatically lower. And the good news is with the 2025 report, it's actually gotten even lower. So last year it was 0.64% of HITRUST certified environments had some kind of breach. This year, we just released a report, it's 0.59%. So just a tick lower, but it's still really, really compelling information. And, the natural question is, well, like, why? How is that happening when everybody else is experiencing these consistent and disruptive and impactful breaches? It's because we are focused on threat intelligence. We are focused on what the bad guys and gals out there are doing. And we're making sure that organizations who pursue HITRUST are forced to address the controls that actually protect against those threats. So on a quarterly basis, we're making adjustments to the control sets within our assessments to reflect what's happening in the threat landscape in the last 90 days. Nobody else is doing that, at least not at that frequency. And we've built this assurance mechanism that is more than trust but verify. It's a forcing function for organizations to look deep and be really honest with themselves on what they're doing well and what they're not doing well. And we force them to close those gaps. So it's not just a check the box, hey, yeah, we've got this control in place. We want to see the controls in place, and we want to see it's operating effectively. And that's really, in my opinion, what has brought us to that less than 1% breach rate within HITRUST certified environments. So it's really compelling stuff. I encourage folks to get out to our website, HITRUSTalliance.net, download the report, dig through it, because it's not just about breaches. It's about the quality program that we have in place. It talks about how year over year, HITRUST certified environments are actually closing more gaps each year than the year before. So HITRUST, again, has become this forcing function for continuous improvement over time, whereas other like assessments and assurance mechanisms aren't that way. They're kind of point in time. It's a capture of where you stand in that moment, and then you wait another year for the next report. So again, I encourage folks to dig into that, because there's a ton of data.
Yeah, solid data, solid results. And I think if I was sitting behind the Resolute CISO desk or the CRO risk officer desk, I would want that intelligence to help me build my program, staff and support my team, give them the tools and the knowledge to know which controls in which way, configured how, validated how, right? And otherwise, I'm pulling that lever of here. Let's see where my program lands. Whatever different vendors tell me I need to do, I'm going to try to do all that, and I might end up with too much stuff in places I don't need it, and not enough stuff in other places where I do need it. And so this intelligence that you have really, I think, drives home the point of applying the right controls in the right ways based on the tactics, techniques, and procedures that the bad actors are using to actually find their way in. So 45% of organizations at HIMSS, if we use that number, should come by and say hello to you, right? and figure out how to not be one of them and get in and be more in the zero space. For organizations that have been lucky, maybe what are some of the questions or some of the things that they might hear their executive leadership team talk about? Like, we need to be ISO certified, we need to be SOC 2 certified, we need to be whatever it might be. Are there any trigger things that teams might hear that suggest they should also come talk to you? So they haven't had a breach, but there's something else that says they're serious about risk, they want to improve their posture, they want to do it intelligently. You should talk to HITRUST.
Yeah, I think I would offer that what makes us different is, and I'm going to somewhat repeat myself, if you look at other standards, what you mentioned, SOC 2, you mentioned ISO, those are best guesses on what controls are important, right? And it's totally reliance on the expertise of whoever is making the control selection. If you look at, take ISO and SOC 2 out of the equation for a second, and you just look at a CISO who's building their program internally. This is going to sound somewhat negative, but it's true. Their experience and their expertise is actually a limiting factor in building the program and selecting the controls that matter and how to configure those controls, right? You would have to be the smartest person in the room, in any room that you go into, to do it right, to anticipate how bad actors are going to exploit vulnerabilities within your environment. So that's what I think makes us different, is that we're not just sitting in a room and thinking, oh, MFA is a great control to have in place because that's what the industry tells me to put in place. We're actually looking at what's being exploited and letting that guide us and tell us what's important. So I would offer for the folks who may be in the world of they haven't had some kind of major incident and or breach, to consider, do you have the right skills, expertise, and probably most importantly, enough resources to do it right? Because a lot of CISOs, especially in healthcare, are underfunded, under-resourced. So you have to be very focused on what matters, and you need to prioritize what matters. And instead of just thinking you may know because you've been doing this for so long, why not follow what the bad guys are telling us they're doing?
Right. So we got a few moments, and we tease with AI. We're gonna end with AI. So what's going on with that? How much is going to be part of your conversations there?
I actually am. I think I'm going to make like a bingo card. That me and the rest of the HITRUST team will have to walk around and see how many booths have AI somewhere in their booth display, because I guarantee it's better than 85 to 90%.
I was actually thinking 90% in my head. Yes.
Yeah. The last show that I went to in the fall, it was everywhere. So I can only imagine HIMSS will be the same.
Mm-hmm.
But, deservingly so, right? Gen AI, even though AI itself is not new, Gen AI, the advent of Gen AI recently in the last 24 months or so, really has pushed the envelope in a lot of different ways in making resourcing easier or more obtainable, automating workflows that were very manual in the past. There's lots of things that AI can really help with. But with any kind of new technology, you need to understand what risks are associated with that. And HITRUST 2 years ago, we committed to being a part of the solution to help organizations kind of wrangle their arms from a security perspective around AI, and not just Gen AI, all AI. So we've released AI security certification in December of 2024. That's available today for any and all organizations to take advantage. So that's one of the things that I think we're really going to be focused on, because everybody's talking about it. Everybody's asking questions. It's this big, scary thing. I keep equating it to the cloud. When the cloud came out 15 years ago or so, people were afraid. But now if you look at cloud adoption, it's off the charts. And I think AI is going to be the same way. Once we get over the FUD, the fear, uncertainty, and doubt of AI, more and more folks are going to be latching onto it. And we need to do it in a secure way because people trust these models. Even ChatGPT, it tells you right at the bottom, verify any information that comes out of this because it's still an evolving technology. And we need to be focused on understanding that technology and ultimately putting controls in place to make it trustworthy.
And if only, I think everything should have that. be warned, this might not be accurate, but
even humans,
yeah,
like a T-shirt, right?
What I love about HITRUST CSF and the certification that surrounds it is independently validated, right? The controls are actually verified, in place, configured properly to meet the objectives of the framework and the risk posture that the organization's trying to achieve for the selected area that they're covering. And then you certify the independent analysis of that. No need for be aware of what you're getting. You have the confidence, you have the assurance, you have the provability of what you're doing, and what you're describing with the AI cert is the same thing. So not just for general IT and OT and other controls, but also for your AI environment. So anything else you want to add on that point?
Yeah, so the AI cert follows the same quality assurance model that our historical assessments follow. So arguably we have 6 levels of quality assurance that we run against every single assessment, to your point, Sean. So it's not just a single person or a single auditor's opinion on whether these controls are in place. It's run through the gambit from a quality assurance perspective. And going back to the trust report really quickly, one of the stats that I thought was really gratifying, if you will, for me, because I really harp on the quality of HITRUST, is we actually have a quality team that audits our quality assurance professionals, and they're separate teams, right? So quarterly, our VP of quality and his team is auditing the quality analysts from the assurance side of the house who are looking at all the assessments to make sure that they did their job. And one of the stats that came out of it is 95% of assessments in 2024 didn't have any issues from the quality assurance team, the analyst who was doing the QA of the assessment. And you may be like, well, why isn't it 100%? Well, nothing's 100%, but the fact that we have that oversight is compelling, and it provides and proves that HITRUST quality is kind of head and shoulders above anything else that's out there.
Yeah, and the confidence to look at that and even discuss it says a lot, in my opinion. A lot of organizations can make claims of goodness. You're sharing it in detail after the analysis is done. Marco, HIMSS is coming 3rd through the 6th.
I said that. I said that in the conversation that we had with the organizer. I may just get in the car and drive, because it sounds like it's going to be very, very interesting, especially for me from a societal perspective as well, not just the cybersecurity thing. So we'll see. We'll see. I don't think you're going to do it from all the East Coast and drive there.
I'm not doing it from New York.
I wouldn't recommend that.
You have to get in the car now.
Yeah,
That's right.
or get
I've done that drive before. It's a long one.
I know. Well, this was great, Ryan. I really enjoyed it, and wish you the best of luck there on the floor. I'm sure a lot of questions will come your way, and all the team of HITRUST is going to be on location.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.
Yep. Booth 1369, 4th through 6th. It's next week. Catch Ryan, Matthew, and the rest of the crew there. Ask the right questions, share the right info so they can ask the right questions and help you all out. Thanks, everybody, for joining us for this On Location with Sean and Marco, coming to you for HIMSS Global 2025 in Las Vegas. Stay tuned for more. We'll see you all soon.
This is a special announcement. We are heading to RSA Conference in San Francisco for our 11th years of coverage, April 28, May 1st.
And as always, we're bringing you keynotes, conversations with organizers, speakers, industry leaders, plus the latest insights from the world of cybersecurity.
And we'll reconnect with old friends, meet new ones, and of course, we want you and your company to join us.
We have a few spots left for full sponsorship and our on-location briefings. You can book yours now at itspmagazine.com/RSAC.
We're going.
And you're coming with us.